Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and there's been a lot of talk of potential cap casualties around the NFL, players that may have some bigger contracts that could be released from other teams. So I decided to take a look at some of those lists, be it on places like Bleacher Report, ESPN, whatever it may be, and compile 5 players that I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could be interested in if they are released from their current team. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. The first player that I want to talk about is Samson Ebukam, coming in out of the Indianapolis Colts. He's an edge defender for Indianapolis, formerly used to play for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, one important thing to note is that he is coming off of a pretty tough Achilles injury, okay? He did tear his Achilles, was not able to play in the 2024 season, okay? That is a very important thing to note. He is still recovering from that torn Achilles that he suffered on July 29th, 2024. Okay. But in his first season with the Colts, he was pretty darn good. He played and started in 17 games, had 11 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. I'm not saying this is a guy that needs to be brought in on some big time type of contract. Okay. But if you want to take a flyer on a guy to get another veteran, I still think the Bucs need a number one, okay? And I think they're still going to go out there and try and get a number one pass rusher, okay? That I cannot stress that enough. But if they also want to take maybe another flyer on a type of guy, Samson Ebukam could be a good option. An 84.4 overall grade in 2023. That was 18th out of 197 edge defenders. A pass rush grade of 72.6, 46th out of 197 edge defenders, and a run defense grade of 80.0. That was 13th out of 197 edge defenders in 2023. So if he can come back from that torn Achilles injury and be close to as productive of a player as he was in that 2023 year, the Bucs may look to take a flyer on that type of guy and have it work out, right? If he is released from that big contract that he has with the Colts. So it is something to consider. He's not the only edge defender that I have on this list, by the way. But I do want to take a look real quick at some interior defensive lineman, I feel like. The first guy I want to mention is John Franklin Myers, former New York Jet, by the way. Was he there whenever Todd Bowles was head coach? That is an important question. I don't believe so. No. It looks like he was originally with the LA Rams, in that 2018 NFL draft, and then he joined the Jets in 2020. Okay. But this past season with the Denver Broncos, which is his current team, he showed a lot of good ability. An 82.8 overall grade, that was 6th out of 219 defensive interior linemen. A pass rush grade of 84.3, that was 4th out of 219 defensive interior linemen. But a run defense grade of 58.2, that was 75th. Now, the reason to bring in JFM is because, hey, this guy is really darn good at pass rushing. Right, he's been pretty good throughout his career, even with the New York Jets. He did a lot of good work. He had 7 sacks this past season for the Broncos, 8 tackles for loss, 18 quarterback hits. He's very good at getting after the quarterback, and he is on a bigger contract, right, with the Denver Broncos right now. But if this is a guy that is released and you can get on some type of a cheaper deal where you can maybe add some void years to lower that cap hit and whatnot, could be very interesting. He's currently on a deal where he's going to have a $10 million, it was a 2-year, $15 million deal. If you can get him for like half of that, maybe, I don't know, man, it'd be pretty good. You pair him up with Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea, then get another solid edge rusher out there in free agency, like a number 1 edge rusher, maybe like a Josh Sweat. You'd be cooking on that pass rush, man. You would be cooking like nobody's business, especially with Logan Hall taking a bit of a leap this past season as well. It'd be pretty good. The next guy I want to take a look at is Joey Bosa. And I know people are going to say, James, Joey Bosa is kind of cooked, right? I do kind of get where you guys are coming from, but He did have a little bit of a bounce back year this past season, a 63.9 overall grade. That was 90th out of 211 edge defenders, a pass rush grade of 64.1. That was 86th out of 211 edge defenders, and a run defense grade of 73.7. That was 19th out of 211 edge defenders. Okay, so like Bosa did have a bit of a bounce back year. He had 5 sacks this year. Did end up making the Pro Bowl, so shout out to him for that. He had 13 quarterback hits. I know he's been a couple seasons removed from having double-digit sacks. Last time he did have double-digit sacks was 2021. In 2022 and in 2023, he dealt with a lot of injuries, right? In those 2 seasons, he only played in 14 games, started 9 from 2022 to 2023. 2024, he got a bit healthier. 14 games played, 9 games started. He is going to be 30 years old this upcoming season. I'm not saying, again, much like in the case of Samson Ebukam, you need to bring in Joey Bosa to be your number one guy. Okay? I'm not saying that. But I think that he can be a veteran that can help you. Okay? Maybe you pair him up with some of the guys that you got in that room. Maybe you get Joey Bosa and some other type of dog, again, maybe like a Josh Sweat, maybe a Hassan Reddick, and then maybe you don't take an edge in the NFL draft, and maybe you don't bring back Anthony Nelson or something, and you're rolling out Braswell, Yaya Diaby, Joey Bosa, maybe like a Josh Sweat or Hassan Reddick, and that's an improved pass rush in my opinion. That is. I think Bosa could do well, maybe on a bit of a reduced pass rushing type of thing. And if you give him a bit of a reduced contract as well, because right now his current deal, if I can look it up real quick, I know is paying him a metric crap ton of money, right? Yeah, he's got a cap hit of $36 million this offseason. Ain't no way he's going to be making that much going forward. So if you can get him for a decent price, I would say why not add him to the rotation, take a flyer on that type of guy, much like Samson Ebukam, and see what can happen. It's an interesting thought, in my opinion. The next guy is actually a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Some of you may have forgotten about him, but it's Alex Cappa of the Cincinnati Bengals. He has been mentioned as a cap casualty, potentially. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneers starting offensive lineman. He is 30 years old. This past year was pretty rough for Alex Cappa. He had an overall grade of 50.5. That was 110th out of 135 guards in the league. Pass blocking grade of 39.7, 107th out of 135 guards, and a run blocking grade of 54.9. That was 103rd out of 135 guards. Alex Kappa's had a bit of a rough go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, it is what it is. He's been with Cincinnati for 3 years now. He's started just about every game he could for Cincinnati. He has played and started in 50 games for the Bengals. 50 games. So this is a guy that still has a lot of starting capabilities under his belt. I want to go back to his time in Tampa Bay, though, and even take a look at his first year in Cincinnati, because he was pretty decent. He was the 28th highest rated guard in the NFL in 2022 in his first year with the Bengals. And then, of course, with the Bucs, he had a lot of good years in 2020 and in 2021, even going, like during the Bucs Super Bowl run and whatnot. So maybe could be a guy that you could potentially look to bring back and say, hey, we get him into the good offensive line structure that the Bucs have. He can kind of go back to that 2020 to 2022 version of Alex Cappa, where he might have had a couple of down years in 23 and in 24. Just a thought. I know a lot of people aren't big on Ben Bredeson. I like Ben Bredeson. I think that he's a fine starting option at left guard. But if you want to go for something different, maybe bring back an old face. I don't know. The last guy I want to mention is TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards is currently the starting inside linebacker for the Chicago Bears. He's been mentioned as a potential cap casualty as well. He's only 28 years old. I believe will be 29 years old this upcoming season. Was a big free agent signing at the time from the Philadelphia Eagles. But he's coming in now with an overall grade of 61.4 this past year. That's 103rd out of 189 linebackers. Overall, had pretty average to below average grades this past season. It's important to note that even just last year, though, he was the 20th ranked linebacker in the league out of 179, according to PFF. Look, if TJ Edwards does get dropped, I can see the Bucs being interested. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything: pass rush, run defense, coverage grades, and he's a guy who is still coming off of a productive season. Had 129 tackles this past year, 4 sacks, starting all 17 games for the Bears. The guy doesn't get hurt, right? He's played every single game for the Eagles and Bears the past 3 seasons, and could honestly be a quality starting option for the Bucs if he is released. To be honest, we don't know what the future of Lavonte David holds, right? It's not like taboo to say that. And the Bucs could very well need another starting linebacker. You could do a whole heck of a lot worse than a guy like TJ Edwards. His current cap hit is $7 million. If you could, usually when guys get released, they're going to be making probably around half of that, maybe a little bit more, like 4 to 5 million. I would take that risk on TJ Edwards. I would give him a decent contract and see what he can do, even as like a 2-year deal or something. See what he can do as a starting linebacker for the Bucs if he does become available. But what do you guys think about these cap casualties that I mentioned? Are there any other guys that you may be interested in if they get released around the league? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comments section below. I would love to hear it. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.